I'm married to an ex-go-go girl from Pattaya, and I have no regrets. Yes, my wife used to work in a bar, and part of her job was to entertain customers. I've heard all the negative opinions about it countless times. Every judgment, every bit of skepticism, I've been on the receiving end more than once. It gets frustrating when I see people sharing their stories online, and the comments section is filled with people who have been burned by Thai women and seem to think every Thai girl is the same. That sort of thinking doesn't account for the individuality of each woman and their unique stories. It's important to remember that many of the heartbreak stories we hear, the ones where men end up losing money or falling into emotional traps, typically involve older men who've fallen for the first Thai girl they meet, often a bar girl who is much younger than them. These guys convince themselves that these girls, who are sometimes 2 decades younger, are genuinely interested in them romantically. The reality is, these men are usually newcomers to Thailand, or have had little success in love before, and so they fall hard and fast, often ignoring red flags that are right in front of them. That doesn't mean it's only the inexperienced who get caught in the bar girl spell. Even the most seasoned veterans, those who think they know the game, can fall for it. It's important to recognize that every country has both good and bad people. Judging a Thai woman solely based on her profession or the fact that she works in nightlife is unfair. To clarify, I'm specifically talking about women who work in bars, clubs, or entertainment spots like Pattaya. Sure, it's not the ideal job for someone you'd want to settle down with, but that doesn't give us the right to judge. We all have our own stories, and unless we know someone's background, we can't truly understand why they've chosen that path. If your only intention when visiting Thailand is to have a fun holiday, go ahead and enjoy yourself. But if you find that you're starting to develop feelings for one of these women, don't automatically assume it's doomed because of some negative comment you've read online. That being said, I'm not suggesting you throw caution to the wind. Especially if you're meeting a girl who works in a bar in Pattaya, you should be alert to the red flags that come with the territory. There are countless reasons why a relationship with a bar girl might not work out. But that doesn't mean your story will end like the 57-year-old guy who discovers his 20-year-old girlfriend already had a boyfriend back in her village. It's all about having the right mindset and being aware of what's going on around you. Having common sense in Pattaya is crucial. Most of us can sense when something is just a transactional fling versus when genuine feelings are involved. People have enough intuition to know when a girl truly likes them and when she's just putting on an act. However, even with that knowledge, we've all heard stories that end badly. In my opinion, it's not hard to see when a girl is lying and fixating on money compared to when she's someone who actually wants to spend time with you away from the nightlife scene. Many of the guys who criticize these bar girls don't understand the hardships these women face. Life in rural Thailand is incredibly tough. Now, I'm not saying I fully understand either, but I spend at least a month every year in my wife's village, and I've gotten a glimpse into their lives. The women who leave their villages to work in bars do so because they come from places where people make as little as 150 baht a day, about $4 USD, for working long hours in the fields. That's barely enough to survive, let alone support a family. It's not easy, and most people who judge these women have no clue what it's like to live on that kind of money. 150 baht won't even buy you a drink in a go-go bar in Pattaya these days. It's no wonder these village girls want more. Why shouldn't they want to improve their lives and earn enough to not just survive, but to provide for their families? Many of the bar girls you meet in Pattaya are single mothers, sending money back to support their children who are being taken care of by their parents. Sure, some have boyfriends or husbands, but they're not always going to be upfront about that. The truth is, their families, including the boyfriends, are often waiting for their share of the earnings too. Let me share how I met my wife. As I mentioned, she worked as a go-go girl in one of Pattaya's popular clubs. I was just another tourist at the time, and it was probably my 4th or 5th time visiting Pattaya when I met her. Back then, I had a strict personal rule. I would only fine a girl for one night, and then I'd move on. I didn't want to catch feelings or have any emotional entanglements. I was a so-called Pattaya veteran, living by my own rules. But this story just goes to show how easily anyone can fall for someone, no matter how much they think they're in control. Of course, I didn't stick to my rules because I ended up marrying her. There I was, going into a go-go bar with a girl I had bar fined earlier that evening. I always like to take the bar fined girl out for drinks after leaving the bar, just to get a sense of who they were outside of work. We walked in and my future wife greeted us and took us to a table. I was pretty drunk and I rudely asked her if she wanted to come back with us. She brushed me off, focusing on other customers, and at that moment, I regretted what I'd said. That night stuck with me, and I couldn't get over how rude I'd been. So the next day, I decided to go back and apologize. When I walked into the bar, she spotted me right away, smiled, and came over to offer me a drink. I was surprised she was still so friendly after the way I'd behaved the night before. Maybe I hadn't noticed it the night before, but I realized then how stunning she was. I ordered a Chang beer, and we sat down to talk. I apologized for what I'd said the previous night, explaining that it wasn't like me to be so disrespectful. She accepted my apology with grace and even joked that she'd heard worse in her time working in Pattaya. That's when I realized I really liked her. We laughed and talked for a while, and I could tell she saw I wasn't the same drunk fool she met the night before. A couple of drinks later, I bar fined her, and we spent the rest of my trip together. Suddenly, the idea of hopping from one bar to the next lost its appeal. I wanted to spend time with her. Instead of waking up each day and planning which bar I'd hit that night, I woke up looking forward to seeing her again. For the rest of my trip, I bar fined her every night. We'd spend the day together, grab some food, hang out, and then head to her bar, where I'd pay the bar fine again. It didn't feel like she was just doing her job. She genuinely wanted to be with me. It's hard to explain, but when feelings are real, you just know. Like I mentioned before, there's a difference between work and love, and I could tell she wasn't playing a game. I remember deleting the Line app from my phone, which was full of bar girl numbers, simply because I was content with her. She never asked me to delete them, but she made a few jokes about it, and I could sense she might have been a little jealous. She soon realized I was serious about us. I even deleted the numbers of girls I'd had great experiences with in the past. My connection with her wasn't just about having fun at the bars or in the bedroom. We spent real time getting to know each other. My wife's story before we met was difficult. She had been married before and had a child with her Thai husband. But when her son was less than a year old, her husband left her for another woman. She was left to figure out how to support her child without any help from her ex or her family. Originally, she didn't want to work in a bar, so she moved to Phuket and worked as a proper Thai masseuse. No funny business involved. But despite her hard work, she realized the money wasn't enough, and many clients were expecting more than just a massage. Eventually, she returned to her village for a couple of months to take care of her son. When she realized she wasn't making enough money in the village either, her friend convinced her to move to Pattaya. According to my wife, she never planned on becoming a bar girl, but when she saw how much money her friend was making, she decided to give it a shot. Like many women, she left her son with her parents and promised to send money back regularly. My wife is, and always has been, a stunning woman, so it's no surprise she quickly started making money in Pattaya. She worked at the same go-go bar as her friend and quickly learned to switch off her emotions and focus on the money. 6 months into her job in Pattaya, we met. And yes, we stayed in touch after my trip, which was a first for me. Normally, I wouldn't bother maintaining contact once I left Thailand, but there was something different about her, and we began talking every day. I know there will always be skeptics who think my wife is just after my money. People often forget to consider factors like age and financial stability. My wife and I are close in age, and we both contribute financially. Not every bar girl is out to ruin your life. Some are just looking for a better life for themselves and their families. Did my wife see me as a cash cow at first? Maybe. But I know we love each other now, and I trust her completely. If I'm wrong, I'll be the first to admit it. But for now, we're happy, and that's all that matters. When we visit her village in Thailand, she often points out the nice houses and says, "That woman married a foreigner, and now she lives here with her Thai husband." It makes me laugh, but I also know that's the reality for some people. There are bad stories, sure, but there are also success stories like ours. I know a few guys here in the UK who have married Thai women, and they've been happily married for years. Their wives aren't freeloaders. They work hard for their money. It's a misconception that Thai women marry foreigners just to leave Thailand. Most of them love their country and don't want to leave. I'll end with a little story my wife told me. When she was working in Phuket, she had a friend who claimed to be a fortune teller. The friend told my wife she'd be married 3 times, have plenty of money, and eventually move out of Thailand. So far, most of that has come true. Let's just hope she got the 3 husband part wrong, because I'm husband number 2. There's always a risk when getting involved with a bar girl. The main question is whether she genuinely has feelings for you or if it's just business. You should already know the answer by the way she treats you. So, if you think it could work, take the risk. But if you find your money disappearing faster than you'd like, that's probably a sign it's not meant to be. Thanks for reading, and best of luck to anyone in a similar situation. Commentary time. You know, listening to OP's story really makes you think about how easy it is to make assumptions when we don't know the whole picture. People are quick to judge relationships that come from these kinds of settings, especially when they involve money or a job that's stigmatized like working in a bar. But, as OP pointed out, everyone has their own story, their own reasons, and their own struggles. You can't paint everyone with the same brush. I also find it interesting how OP didn't expect to fall in love at first, and yet things changed. That just goes to show how life can surprise you in ways you never imagined. Relationships can come from the most unexpected places, and love doesn't follow the rules we think it does. It's also important that OP touched on the idea of having common sense while not rushing to judgment. It's all about balance, being open to someone's story, but also staying cautious. I think that's advice anyone could apply to their relationships, not just ones in places like Pattaya. Finally, I really respect how OP acknowledged the hard work and sacrifice these women make to support their families. It's easy to overlook what someone has gone through or the circumstances that led them to where they are. But as OP shared, life in rural areas can be tough, and these women are often doing what they have to do to survive and provide for their loved ones. At the end of the day, it's about mutual trust and respect. If both people in the relationship are committed and honest, then that's what matters. OP and his wife clearly found that balance, and it's a great reminder that not every story has a bad ending. And before we wrap up, if you enjoyed this story or found it thought-provoking, be sure to hit that like button, drop a comment below with your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future stories like this one. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.